Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win, find a way to lose. So boom, finally got a little bit of clarity on what is going on with Terence Crawford, Errol Spence, the rematch, the weight. If Crawford dislikes Errol Spence, if Crawford has a chip on the shoulder, if Crawford's head's gotten big, if Crawford's looking to fight another, 5, 6 years, 1 year, one fight. Finally got the answers. Okay, Crawford did an interview. A lot of people probably aren't aware of the interview because the channel isn't really known. But the bottom line is, Crawford went on record and he talked about it. And he said, as far as the rematch with Errol Spence did activate his rematch clause. So the rematch should take place in December. Okay? So that's a fact for everybody out there. I think a lot of people knew that. Okay? Terence Crawford is willing and ready to fight Errol Spence. He's contractually obligated, but he has no problem fighting Errol Spence. Okay? So that's for the people out there who think Terence Crawford is ducking Errol Spence or trying not to fight him. Okay. Now what he did say is there are negotiations, and you got to wait and see how things play out. There are, of course, some things being discussed. He didn't get into drill down into all the specifics about what's being discussed, but definitely the weight, the money, probably a few other things, that surfaced during negotiations that weren't outlined in the contract. All that's being sorted out right now. Now, the thing everybody wants to know about, okay, we got all that, but what about the weight? Well, the way the agreement was written, right, is that the rematch should take place at 147. However, if one of the fighters can't make that weight anymore, they have to write a letter and submit the letter. Now, I didn't catch this part as far as who the letter needs to be submitted to, but I'm assuming if it's Spence, he needs to write a letter to Terence Crawford and his team saying, hey, look, I can no longer make 147 pounds. And then from there, it's up to Terence Crawford, it's my understanding, to say, okay, well, I don't want to rematch him at 154 if it's not at 147, and it looks like there's no rematch. Or he says, okay, cool, we can rematch at 154. Now, the part that I'm not clear on is what happens to the belts if Crawford goes forward with the rematch, but not at 147. They do it at 154. Now, conversely, that applies to Crawford. If Crawford feels like he can't make 147, and he wants to do the rematch at 154, he has to write a letter stating he can no longer make 147. But as it stands right now, Crawford nor Errol Spence have comprised the letter stating they can no longer make 147. I'll say that again. Errol Spence has not told Terence Crawford's team or anyone that he cannot make 147. Terence Crawford has not told Errol Spence, his team, or anyone that he cannot make 147. The understanding is, as of right now, the rematch is happening at 147. That's a fact. Now, this other thing about whether Terence Crawford is trying to put duck sauce on the fried rice, that's not true. Terence Crawford has no problem fighting Errol Spence. This other thing about Terence Crawford saying that getting the big head and being disrespectful towards Errol Spence, he was very respectful of Errol Spence. The one thing he did say, and I caught this, and this is what I'm going to do another video on, but he did say when he fought Errol Spence, he said no fight is easy, but even he thought the fight was going to be easier than what it was. But he said he was telling everyone for years, about 5 years ago, that when he gets in the ring with Errol Spence, they're going to say that he was weight drained and all kind of stuff and not give him his credit for the win. And those are the things that are happening. So he did mention it, and I caught it, and I was like, I wonder what kind of conversations Terence Crawford is having with his inner circle that he won't share with us. But I think he probably said too much in that statement where he admits that, damn, even I thought the fight with Errol Spence was going to be more difficult. Okay? All right. So as far as Terence Crawford and going forward and continuing to defend his belts at 147, I caught in that interview where he said his focus. Now you got to listen to what he's saying. Something about having one more fight at undisputed in another weight division and retiring. So I'm letting y'all know right now. We've heard Terence Crawford say maybe one or two more fights and retire. I'm letting y'all know right now. Crawford is really looking at retiring. But he wants to get his hands on Canelo. He wants to get his hands on the big money fight. You figure, man, if the deal is right, Crawford can make some good money. Canelo can make some good money. And the more I think about that fight, I mean, I always want to see it, but I don't like Terence Crawford sounding thirsty. I talked about this in another video, and somebody in the comments was like, "Man, you know, you don't want to see a brother do well." What does that have to do with me saying Terence Crawford needs to be careful to not act thirsty, not be desperate, act like you're starving? Just cool. The fight kind of sells itself. You said what you had to say. Canelo said what he had to say. But just chill out. You know, let's see what happens. Because when it comes to negotiations, sometimes you get these guys out here and their teams are very smart. Okay, he wants to fight that bad. He wants the legacy fight that bad. Okay, give him an 80-20 split. Give him, something ridiculous to where Crawford going to be like, whoa, hold on. 60-40, that's probably a little more than fair. I understand who I'm up against Canelo. Now Crawford ends up in a situation where he's like, oh, look at all my accomplishments. Same crap he went through initially with Errol Spence. So talking about all the things he did at 135, 140. And Errol Spence like, yeah, okay, we get it, but who'd you fight at 135? Who'd you fight at 140? You had easy fights. You had titles basically given to you. 147, who'd you fight at 147? Now Crawford's back at square one, trying to explain himself and justify why he deserves more than like an 80-20 split. So I think he should just chill because that win against Errol Spence carries a lot of weight. Being two-time undisputed carries a lot of weight. And the fact that he has to go up a lot of weight to 168, that matters as well. So I think he's going to be handsomely compensated. And I just don't think, I think he said enough already. Let's see what happens with Canelo and Charlo. And if Canelo wins, like most people suspect, then that's where you want to step in the ring. That's where you want to make some noise during, right after the fight and put him on notice. That way, when you have the entire world watching, all the different media outlets, you have everybody on that fight. That's where you pop up and you make your noise and you talk your talk. And that's where you go into that ring with a closed mouth, doesn't get fed mentality and approach. And you respectfully let Canelo know, I want to fight you. I can fight you at 168. There shouldn't be no excuses. You don't have to come down or fight you where you're comfortable. I'm coming up. Give me the opportunity to be a 3-time undisputed and give you an opportunity to beat another undisputed champion in another weight division. And I just think that's how he should play it. But hey, who am I? But that being said, the bottom line is Terence Crawford saying, look, the rematch weight, for me, I'm cool at 147. The the rematch weight is really on Errol Spence. So we got to wait and see what he decides to say. But as of right now, the plan is to get back down to 147 and have the rematch with Errol Spence. So it is what it is. That being said, y'all keep cool. Shout out to the veterans all 7 continents. In the breeze.